Hello and welcome, everyone. We are so happy to have you here today. I'm Sophia.
And I'm James. Today, we're going to talk about something really exciting, how to make learning English fun and easy.
That's right, many people think that learning English is difficult or boring. But it doesn't have to be like that at all. With the right approach, learning can be something you actually enjoy.
Exactly. The more fun you have, the easier it will be to remember what you learn. So, if you're someone who wants to enjoy learning English and improve quickly, this podcast is for you.
Let's start with a simple idea. One of the best ways to make learning English fun is by doing things you already love, but in English. For example, if you enjoy watching movies or TV shows, try watching them in English.
Yes, you don't have to understand every word at first. Even if you only catch a few words, you're still learning. And if you watch something you already enjoy, like a favorite movie, it won't feel like hard work.
Another fun way to learn is by listening to music in English. You can find the lyrics online and sing along. It's a great way to learn new words and improve your pronunciation. Plus, who doesn't love music?
Right, singing along to songs is a fantastic way to get more comfortable with how English sounds. And it helps you remember new words because music makes things stick in your mind.
You can even try reading the lyrics while you listen. This way, you see the words and hear them at the same time. It's like giving your brain a little workout, but in a fun way.
Speaking of fun, how about learning English with games? There are so many English learning apps and online games these days. Some are designed specifically for language learners, but even regular games can help.
Absolutely. When you play games in English, you're learning without even realizing it. You're practicing vocabulary, reading instructions, and sometimes even speaking to other players. It's a great way to practice without feeling like you're studying.
One game that many people use to learn English is Scrabble. It's all about making words from random letters, and it's a fun way to challenge yourself to think of new English words.
That's a good one, James. You can also try crossword puzzles. They help you think about words and their meanings, which can really improve your vocabulary.
Another idea is to set up small language challenges for yourself. For example, try speaking only English for an hour each day. During that hour, think about what you're doing and say it out loud in English. If you're making breakfast, describe it. If you're getting ready for work, talk about it in English.
That's a fun challenge, James. And the more you practice speaking, the more confident you'll feel. You don't need to be perfect. Just try to speak as much as possible. It's all about practice.
Exactly. You can also involve your friends or family in these challenges. Maybe you can play a game together where everyone tries to speak only English for 10 minutes. It can be a fun competition.
Yes, and the more people you involve, the more comfortable you'll become with using English in everyday life. It takes the pressure off when you're learning with friends or family.
Speaking of everyday life, another fun way to learn English is by changing the language on your phone or computer to English. This way, you're using English every time you send a message, check social media, or search the internet.
That's such a good tip. By changing your phone's language, you're forced to see and use English words throughout the day. It's a small change that can make a big difference.
Yes, and don't forget about social media. You can follow English-speaking pages or join groups where people speak English. It's a great way to see real-life English in action and learn how people use it in everyday conversations.
Definitely. You can even try commenting on posts in English. Don't worry if it's not perfect. The important thing is that you're practicing, and the more you practice, the better you'll get.
That's so true. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is part of the learning process. So don't be afraid to try speaking or writing in English, even if it's not perfect.
Exactly. And to make things even more fun, reward yourself when you complete a learning task. For example, if you finish a chapter of an English book, treat yourself to something you enjoy. It keeps the motivation high.
I love that idea. Learning English can be exciting when you give yourself little rewards. It can be as simple as watching an extra episode of your favorite show or having a special snack.
Yes, the key is to keep things light, enjoyable, and not to stress too much. When learning is fun, it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly.
Now that we've talked about making English fun with movies, music, games, and everyday challenges, let's look at some more creative ways to learn English while enjoying yourself. One of my favorite methods is storytelling. You can make up stories in English, even if they are very simple.
Oh, that's a great idea. You can be as creative as you want. For example, you can start with just one sentence. Maybe something like, once upon a time, there was a friendly dog who loved to travel. Then, keep adding more details as you go. You don't have to worry about grammar too much. Just focus on using the words you know.
Exactly. And the fun part is, you can make the story as silly or as serious as you like. You can even tell stories about things that happen to you in real life, but add a bit of imagination. Maybe you went to the park, but in your story, the park has magical talking trees.
That's a fun way to practice. Another idea is to write the stories down or record yourself speaking them. This helps you see how much vocabulary you already know, and it's great for practicing both writing and speaking skills.
And if you record your stories, you can listen to them later and see how you improve over time. Plus, it's always fun to listen to your own voice and hear yourself speaking English. You can even share your stories with friends or family, which makes it even more fun.
Speaking of sharing, another creative way to learn English is by making videos. You don't have to be a professional filmmaker, just use your phone to record yourself speaking in English. You can talk about anything, your day, your hobbies, or even your favorite food. The goal is to practice speaking and get more comfortable with using English.
That's such a cool idea, James. Making videos can really help you feel more confident. You don't have to post them online unless you want to, but just the act of talking to the camera is great practice.
And if you do want to share them online, there are lots of communities for English learners where you can get feedback and connect with other people who are learning just like you.
Absolutely. Another way to make learning fun is by setting up small goals and rewarding yourself when you achieve them. For example, you could set a goal to learn 10 new words each week. Once you do that, give yourself a little reward, maybe a special dessert or watching your favorite show. It's a great way to stay motivated and enjoy the learning process.
I love that idea, and it doesn't have to be just vocabulary. You can set goals for anything reading, speaking, listening, or even watching something in English without subtitles. The key is to make the goals achievable so you don't feel overwhelmed.
Yes, and small goals add up to big progress over time. You can also make learning a part of your daily routine. For example, while you're getting ready in the morning, you could listen to an English podcast or a short news story in English.
That's a great way to use your time wisely. If you're doing something like cooking or exercising, you can turn it into a language learning opportunity by listening to something in English. Even if you don't catch everything, your brain is still getting used to the sounds and patterns of English.
Exactly, and another fun way to practice is by talking to yourself in English. I know it might sound a little strange, but it really works. You can describe what you're doing, talk about your plans for the day, or even have an imaginary conversation with someone. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll become.
That's true, and you don't need anyone else to practice. Talking to yourself is a great way to build confidence. It also helps you think in English, which is an important part of becoming fluent.
Another creative method is to use flashcards, but in a fun way. You can make your own flashcards with new vocabulary words and pictures. Then, you can play games with them. For example, you can time yourself to see how quickly you can match the word with the correct picture. Or if you're learning with someone else, you can quiz each other.
Yes, flashcards are a simple but effective tool. And if you don't want to make your own, there are plenty of apps that do it for you. You can even turn it into a competition with a friend to see who can learn the most new words in a week.
That's a fun way to learn together. Speaking of learning with others, one of the best ways to practice is by having conversations with people who speak English. It doesn't have to be a long, formal conversation. You can just chat about simple things like your day, the weather, or your favorite hobbies.
Right? And the more you practice speaking, the better you'll get. Don't worry if you make mistakes. The important thing is that you're communicating and using English as much as possible. You can also join language exchange groups or find a speaking partner online.
And if you're too shy to speak with others at first, you can practice with yourself or even with your pets. Talking out loud is a great way to train your brain to think in English.
That's true. Another fun way to practice is by using English to explore new hobbies. For example, if you like cooking, try following recipes in English. If you enjoy painting, watch an English tutorial on how to paint. Combining a hobby with language learning makes it more enjoyable.
Yes, and by using English in different areas of your life, you'll see how practical and useful it can be. You're not just learning for the sake of studying. You're learning to use English in real-life situations.
That's such a great point, and don't forget you can also use technology to make learning fun. There are so many apps, websites, and tools out there that are designed to make learning English interactive. Some apps turn learning into a game where you can earn points and badges for completing lessons.
Yes, gamifying your learning can make it feel more like playing and less like studying. Apps like Duolingo or Memrise are really popular because they make learning feel like a game. And who doesn't love games?
Exactly. And remember, learning doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay to have fun with it, try different things, and enjoy the process. The more fun you have, the more likely you are to stick with it.
Yes, the key is to find what works for you. Whether it's games, music, movies, or conversations, there's no one right way to learn English. The most important thing is to stay positive, stay motivated, and enjoy the journey.
And remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. You'll make mistakes along the way, but each mistake is a step toward improving. So keep practicing, keep having fun, and soon you'll see how much you've learned.
Now that we've talked about fun ways to learn English like storytelling, making videos, and setting goals, let's explore even more creative methods to keep your learning enjoyable and effective. One great idea is to connect your English learning with your personal interests and hobbies. Think about what you love to do in your free time, whether it's sports, cooking, fashion, or something else, and then find a way to bring English into it.
That's right. For example, if you love sports, you can read about your favorite teams or athletes in English. There are lots of websites, blogs, and social media pages dedicated to sports, and they're often written in simple, everyday language. This way, you're learning English while reading about something you really enjoy.
Exactly, and it doesn't stop at reading. You can watch sports interviews or highlight videos in English. It's a great way to hear how real people use English in everyday conversations. You're not just hearing textbook English, but the way people actually speak. Plus, you're having fun because you're watching something you already love.
Another good example is cooking. If you love to cook, try finding recipes in English. Watch cooking shows or tutorials on YouTube in English. Cooking is something many people enjoy, and learning how to cook new dishes in English can be both fun and educational.
Yes, cooking in English is a fantastic idea, and it's also very practical. You'll be learning new words related to food, ingredients, and instructions. Plus, at the end, you'll have something delicious to eat, which is a great reward for your learning effort.
It's amazing how learning through something you love can make such a big difference. Another thing I love to do is travel, and that's also a great way to improve your English. Even if you can't travel to an English-speaking country, you can learn about places you'd like to visit. You can watch travel vlogs, read travel blogs, or follow travel influencers on social media, everything in English.
Oh yes, travel content is so exciting. There are so many YouTube channels and blogs where people talk about their travel experiences in English. You'll learn new vocabulary, hear different accents, and see how English is used in real life. Plus, you might even get inspired to plan your next trip.
Absolutely. And even if you're not traveling right now, you can still explore the world through the internet. Virtual tour, online museums, and travel documentaries are all available in English. They're not only fun, but also a great way to pick up new words related to geography, history, and culture.
That's true. And speaking of culture, learning about the culture of English-speaking countries is another fun way to improve your English. You can watch movies, read books, or listen to podcasts about life in the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, and other places where English is spoken. You'll get a better understanding of the language, and it'll feel more meaningful when you understand the culture behind the words.
Yes, that's a great point. Language and culture go hand in hand. If you're interested in a particular country or place, diving into its culture while learning the language can make your learning experience much richer and more enjoyable.
And you don't even have to focus on serious topics. You can watch comedy shows, sitcoms, or stand-up comedians in English. Comedy is a great way to learn because it's full of everyday language and expressions, plus it makes you laugh. And when you're laughing, you're more relaxed and more likely to remember what you hear.
That's a really good tip. Comedy helps you learn how people use humor in English, which is an important part of communication. It also introduces you to slang, idioms, and informal expressions that you might not find in textbooks but are very common in everyday conversation.
Yes, and if you hear a joke or a funny line, you can try repeating it yourself. It's a fun way to practice your pronunciation and learn how to use different tones and expressions in English. And don't worry if you don't understand all the jokes at first. Comedy can be tricky in any language. But the more you expose yourself to it, the easier it will become.
Another fun idea is to use English to follow your favorite celebrities or influencers. Whether you're interested in fashion, sports, technology, or music, there are so many influencers who speak English and share content in English. You can follow them on Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter and learn English through their posts, videos, and stories.
That's a great idea. Social media is such a big part of our lives now, and it's a great tool for learning. When you follow influencers or celebrities who post in English, you get to see how English is used in real, casual ways. Plus, you're more motivated to learn when the content is about something or someone you care about.
And don't forget you can interact with these influencers by leaving comments or asking questions in English. It's a simple way to practice writing, and you might even get a reply, which makes it even more exciting.
Yes, engaging with content in English on social media helps you learn naturally. And since social media is updated all the time, there's always something new to read, watch, or comment on. It's a great way to stay connected with English every day.
Another way to make learning English fun is to challenge yourself with quizzes or trivia games. You can find quizzes about anything movies, history, music, and they're often available in English. Not only are they fun, but they also test your knowledge and help you learn new things.
That's such a good point. Quizzes can help you improve your vocabulary and even teach you about new topics in English. You can find them online, in apps, or even create your own quizzes with friends. It's a fun and interactive way to keep learning.
Speaking of interaction, don't forget how important it is to practice speaking English as much as possible. One fun way to do this is by participating in online forums or joining English speaking groups where people talk about topics you're interested in. You can join book clubs, gaming groups, or even fan communities of your favorite shows all in English.
Yes, online communities are a great way to meet people from all over the world and practice your English at the same time. You get to share your interests, and because everyone is talking about the same topic, you won't feel nervous about speaking up.
And since you're discussing topics you already enjoy, the conversation will feel more natural. Plus, you can learn new vocabulary related to the things you love. Whether it's discussing a new book, a TV show, or the latest video game, you're practicing English without even thinking about it.
That's a great way to learn, and you can also find language exchange partners online. These are people who want to learn your language and are willing to help you practice English in return. You can have conversations where you spend some time speaking in English and some time speaking in your native language. It's a win-win.
Yes, language exchanges are fantastic because they give you a real, live person to talk to. You get to practice speaking and listening, and it helps you get more comfortable with having real conversations in English.
And don't forget about reading. Reading is one of the best ways to improve your English, and there are so many ways to make it fun. You can read books, articles, or even comics in English. If you're just starting, try reading children's books or short stories. As you get more confident, you can move on to longer books or even magazines about your favorite topics.
Yes, reading helps you learn new words, improve your grammar, and see how sentences are structured. And when you read something you enjoy, it doesn't feel like studying at all. You're just enjoying a good story or learning about something interesting while improving your English at the same time.
One fun way to get into reading is by joining an online book club. There are lots of English book clubs where you can read a book together with a group of people and then discuss it in English. It's a great way to practice both reading and speaking.
Yes, and book clubs often focus on a variety of topics, everything from novels to self-help books, so you can find something that really interests you. Plus, discussing the book with others helps you understand it better and gives you the chance to share your thoughts in English.
And remember, when you're reading, don't worry if you don't understand every word. It's okay to guess the meaning of words from the context or to look up just a few words. The important thing is that you're engaging with the language, and over time, you'll start to understand more and more. We've already explored so many exciting ways to make learning English fun, connecting it with your hobbies, watching videos, reading about your interests, playing games, and interacting with others online. But let's take it a step further. One thing that many English learners forget is how important creativity is in language learning. You can actually create your own learning materials in ways that are fun and personal to you.
That's a great point. One simple but creative idea is to make your own flashcards. It might sound old-fashioned, but it works. You can write English words on one side and their meanings or translations on the other side. And don't stop there, add pictures, drawings, or examples of how to use the word in a sentence. You can even use an app if you don't want to make physical cards.
Yes, flashcards can be personalized however you like. If you enjoy art, you can draw your own images to represent each word. If you love photography, you could take pictures and use them on your cards. It's fun and also helps you remember words better because you're connecting them with visuals and activities that are meaningful to you.
And let's not forget about songs and music. Listening to music in English is not only fun, but a great way to improve your listening skills. You can listen to your favorite songs, look up the lyrics, and sing along. It's a great way to practice pronunciation too, and you'll learn new vocabulary without even realizing it.
Music is so powerful for learning a language. When you sing, you're repeating words and phrases over and over again, which helps you remember them. Plus, singing along makes you feel confident, and it's a great way to practice your speaking in a stress-free way. You're not worried about making mistakes, you're just enjoying the music.
I love that idea, and it's not just about listening, you can also create music or songs in English. If you like writing, try writing a short song or poem in English. It doesn't have to be perfect. The process of creating something in English helps you think about how to use the words and phrases you've learned, and it's a fun way to express yourself.
That's so true. Writing your own song or poem helps you practice in a creative way. And if you're not into music, how about writing stories? You can start with short stories in English. The great thing about writing is that it makes you think deeply about how to use the language. You get to play with words and sentences, and it's all at your own pace without any pressure.
Yes, writing stories is such a fun way to practice English. You can use characters from your favorite shows or movies, or even invent your own. And if you're into social media, why not start a blog or Instagram page where you share your stories, poems, or thoughts in English? Not only are you practicing, but you're also sharing your work with others, which can be really motivating.
That's a fantastic idea, sharing your English writing online, whether it's a blog post, a poem, or even just daily thoughts, makes the experience interactive. You can get feedback from other people, meet other learners, and see how your English improves over time. And the more you write, the more comfortable you'll become.
And speaking of interaction, let's talk about speaking with others, especially native speakers. One of the most effective ways to improve your English is through conversations. You can join language exchange groups, online video chats, or even apps where you can talk to native speakers. These conversations will not only improve your speaking skills, but also help you understand different accents and ways of speaking English.
Absolutely, having real conversations in English can be a game changer. But sometimes it can feel a bit scary, especially if you're not confident yet. That's why it's great to start with something casual, like speaking with a language partner who's also learning or joining a group where everyone's at different levels. The key is to relax and enjoy the process. You don't have to be perfect to just have to communicate.
Yes, and it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is one of the best ways to learn. Every time you make a mistake and someone corrects you, you learn something new. So instead of being afraid of mistakes, think of them as opportunities to get better.
Exactly. And there are lots of fun ways to practice speaking. For example, you can try role-playing different situations in English. Pretend you're at a restaurant, ordering food in English, or act out a conversation where you're meeting a new friend. It might feel silly at first, but it's a fun way to build your confidence.
That's such a good idea. Role-playing is great because it helps you practice speaking in real-life situations. Plus, you can do it by yourself, with friends, or even online with language partners. The more you practice speaking, the more natural it will become.
And don't forget about pronunciation practice. There are so many fun ways to work on your pronunciation. One way is to record yourself speaking in English. You can read a text aloud, record it, and then listen to yourself. This helps you hear how you sound and what you can improve. You can also compare your recording to native speakers and try to match their pronunciation.
Recording yourself is a great idea. You can even turn it into a daily habit. Choose a short paragraph or a few sentences to read out loud each day, and keep track of your progress. Over time, you'll notice how much your pronunciation improves. Plus, it's really fun to hear yourself getting better.
Another fun way to practice pronunciation is through tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are phrases that are difficult to say quickly, like "she sells seashells by the seashore." They're not only fun, but they also help you practice tricky sounds and improve your clarity when speaking.
Yes, tongue twisters are challenging but really effective. And because they're so playful, they take the stress out of learning. You can try them with friends or even make up your own tongue twisters. The goal is to have fun while working on your pronunciation.
And let's not forget about watching movies and TV shows in English. We touched on this earlier, but it's such an important part of learning that it's worth mentioning again. Watching movies with English subtitles is a great way to enjoy the language while improving your listening skills. You can start with movies or shows you've already seen in your language, so you know the storyline. Then, focus on listening to the English dialogue.
Yes, and if you find it difficult to watch without help, you can use English subtitles as a guide. It's amazing how much you can learn just by watching something you enjoy. You'll pick up new vocabulary, hear how words are pronounced, and understand how native speakers interact in different situations.
And the best part is, you don't even have to watch educational shows to learn English. Any genre works: comedy, drama, action, whatever you enjoy. The key is to make it part of your regular routine. Maybe watch one episode of a show in English each day or a few times a week. You'll be learning without even realizing it.
That's right, and if you're into movies, you can turn it into a learning challenge. For example, after watching a movie in English, try writing a short summary of the plot in English. This helps you practice writing and remember the new words you learned while watching.
That's a great idea, James. And if writing isn't your favorite, you can also discuss the movie with friends or language partners in English. Talking about the plot, your favorite characters, or the best scenes is a fun way to practice speaking and share your thoughts in English.
Yes, discussing things you enjoy makes learning feel less like work and more like a hobby. And when learning becomes a hobby, you'll stay motivated to keep going.
Exactly. And the most important thing to remember is that learning English doesn't have to be difficult. It should be fun, creative, and something you enjoy. The more you find ways to include English in your daily life, the more natural it will feel. Whether you're singing along to your favorite songs, watching movies, writing stories, or chatting with friends online, every little bit helps.
And with all these fun methods, you'll start to see improvements without even realizing it. The key is to enjoy the journey and not rush. Learning a language is a process, but if you make it fun and exciting, it will be a process you actually look forward to.
So, to all our listeners, remember that learning English can be as fun and easy as you make it. Try out some of the ideas we talked about today and see what works best for you. Everyone learns differently, so find what makes you excited to practice English every day.
That's right, and as you keep going, don't forget to celebrate your progress. Every new word, every sentence you speak, every time you understand something new, it's all a step toward becoming fluent. Learning English is a big journey, but with the right mindset, it's also an enjoyable one.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you found these tips helpful and inspiring. Don't forget to have fun with your English learning.
And remember, the more fun you have, the faster you'll improve. Keep practicing, stay creative, and most of all, enjoy the process.
Until next time, happy learning, everyone.
Goodbye and good luck!